Welcome to the first ever free Sans Morph 2-tier list, made with the help of Sammy Boy, who mains Outer Sans and Error Sans, and I, a Classic Sans main and a Last Breath main. The tier list will consist of tiers by matchups. For example, every A-tier character lost around 15 to 25 fights when tested against other characters. D-tier characters lost to around 52 to 62 fights. Tiers consist of D, C, B, A, S, and S+. Without further ado, let's get straight to the point. D-tier. These characters have potential to be fun, but they almost lose all fights. Photo-negative Sans literally deals no damage. All he does is heal. He just may serve as a healer, but his negative ability allows him to tank any damage. Dog only has one attack and mostly can't kill anyone due to the enemy player overhealing before the player can use Dog Force again. Dog is just a troll character. 2D Swap Sans only has one attack, which is a 2D attack. The pattern is easy to memorize and it makes him the weakest out of all the 2D characters. Just hope your enemy isn't Merg if you're using any 2D character. 2D Killer Sans is a bit stronger than 2D Swap, but his single 2D attacks are also easy to memorize. At least he has multiple variants of his 2D attack. 2D Outer Sans' single 2D attack is quite difficult for beginners if they aren't Toho players. Mostly the 2D attack follows the same formula. 2D Dust Sans may have a single 2D attack, but they vary difficulty. The harder ones are the red box attack. 2D Hard Mode Sans has one of the most difficult 2D attacks for a 2D character, which is the orange and blue Spin Bone attack. 2D Last Breath Sans' 2D attacks aren't difficult, but not easy either. The real challenge is that Last Breath has 3 phases, and his third phase lasts for around 3 minutes. Dream Sans used to one-shot anyone at close range, but since his bow got nerfed, he's very mid. At least he can heal anyone around him like Photo. At the top of D-tier, 2D Sans remains as the best 2D character in game. He is the only 2D character that has other attacks other than just a single 2D attack. The problem is that his Bone Zone is absolutely weak, and his blasters sometimes don't hit because of RNG. C-tier characters are pretty much mid. They lose to like 75 to 85% of the fights. Don't fight skilled players with these. Killer Sans, even if he got buffed, he is still mid. He has hard-hitting attacks like slashes, but it only matters if your opponent is staying still. Also, his attacks have a long cooldown. His Bone Zone deals good amount of damage, but has a high cooldown. Horror Sans is a close quarters character, prioritizing close combat. The problem is that there are other characters that can do better than him at his own game. His Trap and Spike Zone is a deadly combo, but his Trap barely even hits the opponent. Killer Dust Sans has a melee unlike his normal counterpart. The thing is that his knife melee has such a small hitbox it is almost hard to hit a moving opponent. His Goop Blaster deals a lot of damage, but it's easily avoidable. At least his knife throws are somewhat decent. I don't get why so many kids use Dust. First of all, he's slow, so he's prone to melee. His throw attacks are decent, but his Bone Zone is hard to hit. His Tridents and Blasters don't do a lot of damage, and his auto-aim attacks are easily dodgeable. You know, for a OP character, Alpha Sans is not even OP. He's literally dust, but slightly better and can turn invisible. Now we have the Human, which is basically your Roblox avatar. Unlike Killer Dust, Human actually has a decent knife hitbox and also has a dash ability. Unfortunately, the knife is the Human's only offense. Just like Killer Dust, Horror Dust has a melee unlike his normal version. People say he's overpowered because of his lifesteal, but the problem is that he suffers the same fate of being a close-quarters combat character like his normal counterpart. Nightmare Sans is actually not that bad. Even when his Spike Wave got removed, he's still good for a C-tier character. His tentacles can be comboed and also ragdoll any player struck by them. His puddle is also quite deadly. Glitch Tail Sans used to be in B tier because of his two big Gaster Blasters. Ever since they got removed, he fell off. Nega Sans can only attack if he loses about 25% of his health. His moveset is about the same as Glitch Tail, but stronger. His Bone Zone is like Killer Sans's Bone Zone, but better. Swap Sans used to be S tier. He had a game-breaking combo that could one-shot anything. Now he got reworked and nerfed. B-tier. B-tier characters lost from 49 to 64% of fights. Skilled B-tier characters can easily defeat unskilled S-tier characters. Papyrus is better than Swap Sans in many ways. He can leap and summons more bones. He is a pretty good counter against the Robux Hammer. Epic Sans only has a few movesets. Even his Bone Wall got removed. Despite it being removed, Epic Sans is still quite good. His Gaster Blaster comboed with his Magic Ball is very deadly. Steam Sans has an ability to upgrade the Rusty Hammer. His Saw throws are quite deadly, and his Bomb throws are also decent since they can bounce off of parts. Dust Sans quite obviously better than Obsessed Monster. Dust. Only problem is that most of his attacks have a long cooldown. Swap Fell Sans is deadly only at close quarters combat. His weakness is that he can be ranged. Ink Sans is decent. His summon can be useful sometimes, but his attacks don't deal a lot of damage. Some of his moveset is quite mid. Glitch Dust Sans used to be better. His two big Gaster Blasters used to be deadlier, but sadly they got nerfed. Plus, even the developer added a poll if Glitch Dust should be removed or not, which he wasn't. For a chance-based character, Fatal Error is decent. His Bone Shoot with Gaster Blasters together is a deadly combo. Moveset is also good, but also suffers from an unusual cooldown. Also, his strings can easily be dodged. Ultra Sans does heavy amounts of damage, yes. The real problem is he can be countered hard by just camping near him. Sure, he can go into his Bone Zone, but it usually won't be enough. Once he's camped, Ultra will have a hard time hitting his opponent. Fresh Sans is one of the best melee powerhouses. If you combo your bat, then use Bone Throw as long as it's set to click, it can eat away almost all of your opponent's health if you time it perfectly. However, his bat cannot ragdoll if the opponent is jumping. True Fresh above Normal Fresh is no big surprise. True Fresh has even deadlier attacks than regular Fresh. He's like Swap Fell Sans, but slightly better. A-tier characters lose to around 45 to 20% when battling other characters. Skilled players will win most fights with ease. A skilled Geno Sans is not to be underestimated. If you get caught off guard, you will instantly lose a lot of health from his Gaster Blasters. At least the damage makes up for the mid cooldown. Geno Dust is literally the same as his normal version. It's just that he deals more damage, minus the fact that some of his attacks has a short animation before attacking, which is common in all Dust characters. Fell Dust Sans being weaker than his normal version. His Bone Zone is what carries him because it deals a lot of damage. His blasters and throws are decent. Lastly, his spin attack. Toxin Sans' first phase is the best phase out of the three. He progressively gets slower and slower as he gets phased. He also cannot even jump high enough to avoid bone jumps at phase 3. All you have to do is just take out 50 HP and he becomes phase 2. Honestly, he has a lot of potential. I thought Error Sans would be S tier, but it turns out he is overestimated by many. He's still strong, but there's one major issue. He doesn't have KR, Karmic Retribution. His string can be comboed with many attacks, but it can simply be countered by jumping. Serious Reaper isn't so serious if he's weaker than normal Reaper. That doesn't mean he's weak, though. You should never underestimate anyone you're fighting against. He deals a lot of damage. His Void attack is like Nightmare's Puddle, but better and has a lower cooldown. His melee has a lower cooldown than his original counterpart. His arsenal is decent. Lastly, he has a jump ability that can help him escape any danger. Butterfly 404 isn't good, that many thought, especially for him being a 1/54th chance. He's even slower than Dust. His string at least can stun and can't be countered unlike Error's strings, which means he can combo them with any attacks. Unlike Ultra Sans, Sudden Changes Phase 2 can avoid being rushed by using the jump ability. His attacks are good, but cooldown is not the best. His shield doesn't even protect him from Gaster Blasters. Dust Sans is good. He's like the better version of Feldust. Plus, his cooldown is lower as well. Outer Dust, in fact, all outer characters used to be higher because the stars used to one-shot anyone that stood in the red spot. Since the stars no longer one-shot, they slowly declined. Outer Dust may have spammable stars, but they don't do much damage. Outer Fell is actually slightly higher than Outer Dust. He only has 4 moves, yet they all prove to be deadly. Since Outer Dust has an animation for some of his attacks, Outer Fell doesn't. Bone Liest, slow but deadly. Science Sans is likely underestimated by many. In fact, he's actually good. He can heal all the way to 500 health. He has good attacks. His health potion is what carries him. The health potion is good because you can pretty much overheal than your opponent in most fights. Outer's Star Zone is different than that of other outer characters, since it doesn't appear where you click, but around the area. He's like a weaker Outer Sans. His Spin Star control is also deadly if used right. Of all the 3 phases, Last Breath's second phase is the best. His first phase is just like normal Sans, but weaker. His second phase, he has good attacks and can also be combined with his Color Row attack. Most importantly, his block move is very effective. It's even better than Nightmare's block. However, his third phase has some of the worst cooldowns I've seen. Neutral Sans' first phase is better than Last Breath's first phase. At second phase, he's more spammier, but he easily loses health and becomes weaker as more dodges he loses. Hard Mode Sans has a high cooldown, but his damage makes up for it. Ocean Sans' blaster is very deadly. He can also summon a boat that can fire a laser at you as well, followed by his attacks and sword. Reaper Sans is the stronger version of Swapfell Sans. Swapfell Sans, but he has Gaster Blasters, a spinning scythe, melee, and more. It's crazy how normal Reaper is better than Sirius. Delta Sans is the definition of a skill-based character. Both Phase 1 and 2 are good. Phase 2 is way deadlier though. His punch has such a big hitbox and his bone throws are deadly. Swap has a katana. He's literally good both close quarters and long range. Bird Sans, he has a OP aimable blaster, attacks, and can also use the dash ability as well. S tier, the top 10 best characters in Free Sans Morph 2. Sudden Changes doesn't need his mech. He's already good. His bullet zone and a spammable bone zone is what makes him deadly. Combine it with the bone throws and bone jump. That's even deadlier. Tears in the Rain, one of the recently added characters, is quite good. He's like another weaker alternative to classic Sans. His auto-aim attacks is also good too. Fel Sans has some hard-hitting attacks. His cooldown is not the best, but it's certainly not that bad. It's like a better version of hard mode Sans. Tone Sans has such a low cooldown. Even his note spin and throws, which are deadly, have a low cooldown. Hyper Feldust is the better Fel Sans of all. His bone zone is very deadly. It takes about 30 HP per hit, and it's spammy. His throws are all right, but his bone spin is way bigger than regular Feldust's bone spin. Also, his Gaster Blasters are more powerful than his normal version. Outer Sans is the best outer character of all. He has everything a good character should have: bone jump, bone zone, throws, and a proper star zone. Limbo Sans, he's literally Sans but weaker. Consider him as his evil version. Plus, he can also darken the map, which makes it harder for the opponent to see. S+ tier, the top 3 characters of all time. Error 4. 04, the ultimate god of RNG manipulation. You see, Blue Mastery Zone is RNG based, because there's a chance the player gets flinged or not. Sometimes he might get stuck on the ground and ragdoll, and from there, Error 404 can simply spam his Gaster Blasters and take a lot of HP. He can also combo his string with his God Ray. If he fires his God Ray and then manages to snatch his opponent while firing it, the opponent will get stunned, which is a deadly combo. Dust Phase 1 is very mid, but his Phase 2 makes up for it. His attacks can deal a lot of damage from the amount of spam Dust can do, from stars, tridents, and more. Also, he's no longer slow when he's Phase 2, which is better. Sans, he's just simply the best character in game. He has everything a good character needs: low cooldown, a lot of damage, more. Even skilled Dust Phase 2 players struggle with skilled classic Sans. Thanks for watching this video. As always, until next time.